We are the Phronesis Project, and I am your co-host, Lauren, and I'm accompanied by...
Yeah, I'm the other guy, Rick.
And today we'll be talking about episode 1 and 2 of Hawkeye. So we start off with a young Kate Bishop in her home, eavesdropping with her parents, and we get to see her first impression of the Avengers. My issue with the whole opening of this show is that we really don't get Hawkeye, who is named after the show, until I think minute 10 or 12. Okay, what is this about? We don't really know this person, and we're seeing a young Kate Bishop. So that's kind of how I, felt when I first saw the beginning of it.
Yeah, the Kate Bishop open, obviously it's through the eyes of a child. She sees this destruction go on in New York, obviously taking place during the Avengers event. Hawkeye is on the top of this building. He's very successfully launching his arrows at all these villains. He's fallen off the building dramatically, flings one more arrow, and another success, right? And it's very, it's very swept up in this nostalgic feel, I think, for a lot of us who saw these movies when they were released, and they're still being referenced, whether it be Hawkeye or let's say Homecoming.
Yeah.
Also had a bit of the Avengers. Even Endgame, it's constantly going back to this thing.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine being a fan at that age, seeing that kind of moment, and maybe it's a little more closer to home, But it's definitely it's one of the better scenes in this whole episode because it's using that Avengers nostalgia, but at the same time it's mixing up this show.
Yeah, they're not building their own, they're playing off something else. And the whole her mom says, when she's fighting with Kate Bishop's dad, she's like, things just don't fall out from the sky. We see literally Hawkeye falling out of the sky. He jumps out of the building, and that's where we see Kate, young Kate, in awe, oh my gosh. And then I also, side note, just wanted to say that the building that she lives in looks a lot like Spider-Man, Raimi's film, Harry Osborn's building, but I guess that's just that affluent New York apartment home kind of looks like that.
Right.
That's just something that caught my eye. But back to the actual show with Hawkeye and going to her dad's funeral and her mom saying I need to protect you, and then young Kate is no, I need a bow and arrow, which equals protection for her,
Yeah, and she's definitely ready to fight for her family, and it shows this young girl who's driven, and again, kind of like Captain Marvel a little bit, where not only does she want to try it, but she again wants to be successful, and you gotta admire that kind of spirit.
Yeah.
It's shown in different kinds of superhero movies, like an Amazing Spider-Man 2. It's the little kid up against Rhino, then Garfield Spider-Man swings in, right? But Iron Man 2, right?
Yeah, where it's supposed to be Parker, in the Iron Man suit, and then one of the Iron Suits is coming down, or one of the bad guys, and he has the blaster of the hand up. Yeah.
Right. So I think they're kind of giving these other moments to characters like Kate Bishop at an early age to kind of mold them and show them that some kids want to be doctors and firefighters and astronauts, but some kids want to be superheroes. Some people,
they want to protect rather than be a a firefighter or cop. Law enforcement, they want to be these people that they saw fight the aliens, bad guys, or whatever they saw at that time that created that hope and inspiration for them to want to be that.
Yeah, I mean, she's definitely eyeing something, and you see her age in the credits. As the she's she's eating at the table, and
we see her grow up in the credits before the show starts.
It's obviously it's not full colorized individual. It's kind of it's silhouette.
The purple scheme of the silhouettes. Yeah,
it's an interesting way to kind of get past her origins. This is why she wants to be a hero. This is where she's at now, right? And you cut to Hawkeye. Outside, obviously, Hawkeye Christmas in New York. He's gonna go see this musical.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I do like that they kind of bypassed her growing up with just the silhouettes in the opening. I did like that, and then with Hawkeye in New York, geez Louise, that play, I know it was meant to be cringeworthy, but geez Louise,
all day.
it was too much for me. I was just no wonder he turned off his hearing aid. And then this is the first mention of him having a hearing aid, so I thought that was also interesting. But yeah, I could see the horror in his face, the disgust, and then,
Ant-Man wasn't there.
he's like, I can tell you that fool was not there for sure. And then, the terror and like disgust going into real pain when he sees, Black Widow do the little flip. Also uncomfortable with like the fame and people recognizing him when he's in the restroom. Right. And that guy comes up and is totally invading his space and is creepy about, let me get a selfie, and then washing his on, is this appropriate time? And like poor Hawkeye's just overwhelmed, and he's just like, I gotta get out of here, and like is outside breathing. And then that's when, his kids find him, and they're like, the little boy Nathaniel is like, why is everybody singing? Yeah. Which I thought was super cute.
That bathroom scene, yeah, but Thanos is right. It's kind of like an edgy way for someone to like, etch into, to get back at society, right? You see when you go to the restroom, like at the malls or at restaurants, you'll see etchings like,
yeah, graffiti like that.
That. So I think it's interesting though, input something like Thanos was right,
I mean, after watching that play, I kind of agree with whoever wrote that. Thanos was right. They should have all been snapped away, because poor Hawkeye had to live through this, and now they're making light of like this situation, which I guess is good, but right.
Yeah, I kind of don't like about Hawkeye specifically is this character feels like it peaked in terms of a comedic kind of tone and character in Age of Ultron, and after that, he has moments, but I don't feel like they ever match that same energy where like he can steal the show by having a couple funny lines.
The banter he had in that movie,
and it sucks because they take this character through this journey. Like, this is a show, right? He doesn't die in Infinity War, but he loses his family, he snaps, he goes full Ronin, and we get one sequence where he's this darker iteration of Hawkeye who wants vengeance.
He's this badass character, and we get so little of it. I hope, how we got flashbacks with like the hearing aid and like when she asked him about it. And we see the flashbacks. Yeah. So I hope that we get more flashbacks of Ronin, because that's a point of contention in this episode, is finding the suit, or next episode, we're looking for the Ronin suit. So I hope we see more of actual what he did in the Ronin suit.
Right. They have so much opportunity in this series to create scenes like, well, this wasn't an Infinity War or an Endgame, but we can tell you like, oh, maybe this was what he did when he was Ronin, and it could be something like of a Winter Soldier, except he's not killing leaders and dictators for Hydra. He's offing them on his own accord, going like, there's no Shield, there's no Avengers. Like, I'm the Avengers. Fuck you.
The people that didn't get snapped that deserve to be snapped, basically.
What did he say? Like, I'm Thanos, or like, he said like some crazy shit when he was fighting that dude at Endgame, right?
Oh yeah. And
he's like, they got Thanos, you got me.
Yeah.
Like, damn,
yeah. That was
super
good. And I feel like, going back to what you said, like having the in between of what he was doing and we didn't get to see. I feel like it would be a good play on where Nat is talking to Rhodes, and she's just find him please when he was like talking about the cartel in Mexico, and then Rhodes is like looking for him. I feel like that would be like a good little play into it. You know what I mean? Like when he is Ronin, like
that would have been cool.
We get to see some of that.
A cool cameo. That would have been a cool fucking
cool
cameo.
I know, because the show.
I really like that idea.
Yeah, me too. But the show was definitely hard for me to watch. Just, I feel like everything about it was lackluster, and I'll get into more of the reasons why. Him going back to him being uncomfortable there at dinner, and then the waiter or the owner is like, we got this, thank you for saving the city. And then the daughter looks at him, and he's just like uncomfortable about it. And he's a spy first, he's a spy before he's an Avenger. He was an agent of Shield, so his life is secrecy, so he doesn't like this attention. The guy in the restroom, the guy at the the restaurant, like, it's not something he wants or desires. He's just doing his job.
No, I get that. I get that 100%. He's obviously a humble character. He doesn't want the spotlight. He's not Tony Stark. He doesn't I guess live in this whole appreciation, respect, and I guess celebration of whoever you are, right? There's characters who will love to do that. This guy, more down to earth, just wants to get by. He wants to have a nice time with his family. You can't blame him. He finally got him back after Endgame. Right?
So he's trying to enjoy the time with him, and that's where we see his wife was like, no, that's why you went to New York, is to spend quality time with the kids.
And like that, I want to say, as we're talking about this specific moment, I do wish they opened the series with Hawkeye you know, the Christmas in New York, him crossing the street, getting ready to watch the musical. They sit down. I wish this is how the series opened. Where's Hawkeye? What's he been up to? Who's he spending his time with? Oh, his family. That's right, because he freaking loves his family. That's what he fought
he
for.
lives for, is for his family.
And instead they kind of do this, we're going to set this character up. Like, it's a little premature. Is this the Kate Bishop show?
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Then just call it Kate, or just call it Bishop, or whatever you want to call it. Like, if She-Hulk is Jessica Walters or whatever with the splash of Hulk, okay, great. But at least you told me, hey, it's She-Hulk. If it's not like you said, this is the Hulk series, and then you do She-Hulk. I would have been pissed. Be upfront with what you're trying to do and
what you're trying to sell, basically.
Yeah.
And
instead of like trying to tell me like, hey, this is the next new Avenger. This is the next Hawkeye. Like, dude,
they're selling Hawkeye, and it's not even Hawkeye. Like, she's not even there yet, and we're getting all this info on this girl, and going back to her and
Haley Steinfeld as Hawkeye.
Time we see her is like
as Bishop. My bad. Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop. I said Haley Steinfeld as Hawkeye. Well,
no, but that's what they're setting it up to be. You know, that's who they want to be, Hawkeye, and that's why we're seeing so much of her. But you know, the first time we see her is when she is like, you know, trying to break into the school building, scaling the building, you know, getting up there with the bet with her friends from the archery club or whatever.
Right. She's trying to impress people. And it's such a lame character moment.
She's like, a bet's a bet, and then she hits it, and then she's like, no, that's not good enough. And then she uses like a hook arrow or something and breaks the whole bell tower. I thought that was just kind of, you know, I could have done without that whole scene, to be honest with you. Like, I'd much rather have, like, see her trying to be a superhero in New York, doing whatever she's doing. And she's such, you know, she was, I think her mom said it during the show, like, oh, I remember when you got your black belt at 15. Like, show me that. Like, show me this Kate Bishop that is supposed to be a badass, that really wants to be a superhero without, you know, saying that. Like, she wants to protect the people she loves and around her, and, like, you know, maybe her city. So, like, show that, not her at school being, like, you know, a degenerate breaking a bell tower. Like, this has nothing to do with the show.
I feel it'd be better served if they set this character up and she is having a heroic moment. She's a street level hero that's not doing it for fame or name recognition.
Yeah,
you know, it's again, Christmas in New York.
A mugging, yep, exactly.
There's a mugging
robbery,
that's going down. You cut to a close up of the assailant pulling the gun out of their jacket, right? So you see the gun. Then you out of nowhere, you cut back to maybe a dark shadowy figure up in the building. They're drawing their bow, you know, and they let the arrow fling across, pins the assailant's arm up against the car door. The assailant can no longer proceed with their crime, right? So she saves the day. She rappels down whether the victim thanks her or the potential victim thanks her or not. I want to see her doing heroic stuff that's a little bit more in line. That she's not trying to take down, let's say, like a big tracksuit mafia kind of.
Not yet. She's doing like little deeds to, you know,
like
make this
Spider-Man kind of.
Yeah, like that's what I was gonna say. Like, be like neighborly to, you know, her city or the area, the borough that she lives in. Rather, we get her, you know, showing, you know, her affluent side, where she goes to see her mom, and then her mom is complaining that, you know, she's young and she's rich, and that no harm can come of her because, you know, she's both, and that, you know, her mom gets snarky with her and is like, you know, take it from somebody who hasn't been, you're not indestructible, you know. So her mom kind of gives her that sass, and then is like, okay, come to this party with me. And then we're introduced to Armand, and he's the one who spills the beans about the engagement. Then we see Jack, you know, her soon-to-be stepfather, and
Jack from another. I think they're kind of riding the hype and the reputation and the development of Lalo from Better Call Saul. Like, they're not trying to set this guy up as Lalo.
Yeah, the bad guy, but he's like,
you know, he definitely made a name for himself.
Yeah, and
on that show,
and he plays, you know, this character really well because
he looks like a TV novela kind of guy, huh?
Yeah, like a Mexican soap opera,
like a stereotypical kind of dude like that. But he like
suave kind of thing that they're going for. It's very cringy, like with the rose in his mouth, and he's trying to give it to her, and she's like, "That was in your mouth. I'm totally not touching that." And then he's like, "So it was, ha 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 ha." You know what I mean? Yeah. When we see him, he's like with the mom, and she's just found out about the engagement. He's like, "Well, I have another engagement." You know, and that's when we see him and his uncle, Kate, sees the dog for the first time, then sees Armand, you know, basically like threatening her mom, and then she goes and follows them down to this black market engagement where, you know, she's, you know, spying, but like not really. She's just lurking at this point because she's not really doing any spy work, you know. So It's kind of
Bishop, right?
Yeah.
Feels like filler, and it's not so much character development because that's the intent. Like they set up her parents, they set up Armand. Like these, you gotta introduce them before you do away with them or whatever you're gonna do.
I feel like there's a lot of things that we could have done without, and like more things we could have furthered the story along or made the story better. So all of that's off, and then we get her spying again at the black market auction, and then she's by the door and she can hear the stuff go down before it goes down with the tracksuit, them talking and getting ready, and she just literally stands there, and like this whole thing of her wanting to be not quote unquote a hero yet, but like she's a black belt, she does archery, she's got all this stuff, like she can protect herself better probably than any of these other rich folks can, and she just sits there, and then again the explosion happens, and again she sits there and just stares at the suit for like forever. Like, oh my gosh, like I know it wasn't that long, but I was just like watching that, it felt very lengthy. And then she doesn't even get the sword, like she just gets the suit.
She goes in this auction, and first of all, she's posing as a waiter, trying to get more information as to what's going on. The only reason she gets away with posing as a waiter is because she arrives at the party in this suit.
Yeah, in the all black wear, which is the servant wear.
She can kind of pull off the suit. Like,
no, she looks chic. She does. Yeah. It looks good. She looks cute.
It looks better than it does like on, let's say, like Elliot Page. Like I think she it's dope. It's a dope look, but she's like her behaviors and her actions are a bit questionable. You do want her to be sneaking. You do want her to
she doesn't
to use
have
some of her tech that's because she has money. You want her to implement some technology.
A security company with her family, but she doesn't have that hero behavior. That's what I was getting at with her standing at the door. There's like, where's the hero behavior? Like you said, like where's the tech? You have a security company. You're you're an heiress. You really are. You know.
And she uses this situation, to decide, like, I'm gonna be a hero in this specific moment and help usher people out to safety. Like, I feel that auction could have been a lot better. Who's the other individual who said Echo, right?
Oh yeah, Echo in the second episode. She's introduced last. But okay, so then we're going back to she hears the Tracksuit Mafia, they explode the wall out, and then she's having that internal dialogue where it takes her too long to get it. But you were talking about Echo introducing her there, right? That's what you were talking about?
Yeah, because you came up with the idea of having Echo as being one of the bidders.
Yeah.
And I think I like that if say...
It would have been so much more interesting with her being there. They're looking for this watch, like, so we know that this stupid watch is going to be a point of contention probably throughout this show because we know it's Tony's watch, but like, make it cool, like she put her in a suit too or something, like something dramatic, like, like if the mom's wearing red, like another nice red dress or something, just something like dramatic like that, and she's bidding. And then, that's when they blow the wall,
Right, and I would have loved to see her kind of coordinate with, her Tracksuit Mafia henchmen, right? She's bidding, and say they're bidding on I want to throw a new item in there and do an auction tape of Ronan actually killing someone, right? It's a bit spicy, it's maybe like a R-rated thing, but you don't have to do that, you don't have to show that, right? You don't have to show it gory and bloody. You can do Winter Soldier and Civil War style, do the implication, show maybe a reaction shot of the bidders, and like those bidders are dangerous. The world's most dangerous. Was it or the most dangerous game? I forget, like that, but it's people from this kind of status and class. They love to chase this more taboo, more underworld kind of thing. And it would have been interesting to have this layer of like, oh dang, Ronan, we have this tape of Ronan, and we have his suit, and we have his sword. So as she wins the bid for let's say the suit or the tape, she wins. She excuses herself to go to the restroom, and as soon as she excuses herself, bam, you see the explosion. Henchmen come in, they try to take everything. Obviously, Lalo was eyeing the sword too, right? He's talking to Armand, kind of being like,
he's such a creep. He just takes the sword, doesn't check on his elderly uncle. Like, this dude, come on, what are you doing? But they're setting him up to be a creep.
I just wish they did a little more with that scene. I wish it was a little more interesting because some of these scenes kind of fall flat. I think the big machine, right? Marvel has so much money, which therefore means they should have so much resources, which means if they have places in, let's say, just in the United States, whether it's LA and New York and Atlanta and all these people where you can pull creative individuals and come up with some of the best storylines and moments for these characters, and this is what you presented to us. Like, this is how you're gonna do Hawkeye. Like, not only did you fumble the Ronin bit, but you're fumbling this show, and you're forcing Kate Bishop down our throats when it's dang, man, like, people just want classic Hawkeye. If you're gonna give him less screen time, then give him one more fun
Yeah.
little adventure to go on. It'd
give
be a
him
blast.
give him more juice, and then with her taking the suit finally, I feel like the fight scene was like kind of lackluster too. Like you have a black and both of them, like where she's in the auction at the end of the episode, like you're getting your butt beat up right now, and you went to go hide in a car. That's closer to the end of this episode, but
Right. We already talked about our mom being dead?
no, we didn't. Fight scenes being lackluster, and
Oh, yeah.
in the black market, she does the whole little flip with the wine bottle, like how her mom did the fruit in the beginning of the episode.
I want to say those Netflix people who did some of the fight scenes for those shows are doing a better job than the Disney crew.
So much better.
And that's not like Netflix.
Daredevil was amazing. Like all those fight scenes.
Right.
Great.
And it's not like they're A1 or they're the top of the class
No,
or they are the standard. It's just like, look, they did this with even
less funds.
limited resources compared to their bigger brother, right? The Marvel on the big screen. And it's just, man.
It's kind of sad.
They really got in. I get it. I'm sure it was tough during this whole process with the times that they are, but still.
They still had the funds to make this happen. Yeah. So her, in the Ronin suit, taking the dog home, then going.
Right, and taking the Ronin suit, and what causes Hawkeye to notice, right?
Because she saved the dog, and the news when he's coming back from being with his kids a night out, going seeing the Christmas tree and having dinner, and they're like, oh, he saved a dog. The kids were all excited about it. That's when we see her again scaling a building, breaking into Armand's home, and seeing he even's got candy named after him, the butterscotch, and then seeing.
Well, maybe they had their family like a business or whatever.
Maybe it could be.
Like it's Armand's butterscotch candy.
I don't know. It's probably like those people who just
They get their own shit like that?
the M&Ms, like detailed M&Ms with like their information. Like they do it for weddings and stuff. But,
I didn't know.
Yeah. So, but yeah, then she sees Armand stabbed in the back, and then.
And who kills him? Like, who do you think? You think it's Jack because he was eyeing that sword?
I don't know. I feel like they're playing Jack up to be the bad guy. I don't know. I got a bad vibe from her mom from the jump, so I'm not going to put her mom aside that she's not a bad guy. I'm not saying she's a good guy, but maybe she's like somewhere in the middle where she kind of plays both sides. I don't know, but her mom, we need to sell this place when she's arguing with Kate Bishop's dad. She was still able to keep the house after her husband died, and now she has this security business because her husband was dead. So I don't know. The mom to me is a little sketchy. We see the tracksuit mafia come after she dips out of Armand's house, and she's getting her butt whooped. Hawkeye has to save her, and then he's like, who are you? And then like that's how we end it. And
right. That's the end of episode 1, which they kind of lead off on that, the characters running into each other, which is,
I don't know, I just felt like it was meh.
Yeah, it definitely leaves a lot to be desired. There's a lot of filler in this episode, and I think there's a lot of filler in this next episode too.
Yeah, episode 2 of Hawkeye. Where can we start? We show back up where he's like, who are you? And she's like, oh my god, you're Hawkeye. And, he's like, and who are you? Like, Kate Bishop? Like, why do I care? And then...
Yeah, and that moment, too, I wish, we get this setup. This is her hero. She loves Hawkeye. This is her number one. And I would have loved for her to have a little bit more of an energetic exchange with him. She's pushing him. And she's like, oh my god, you're effing, and she's trying to say the F word. A car horn goes off, right? It's loud as New York.
People... Yeah, because New York is loud, and there's always cars, and there's always people, and there's always something going on, and I feel like that would have been so I think that would have been wonderful. Like she's so excited that she's cursing, but obviously it's Disney Plus. We're not going to get that.
You scared by it.
Yeah, exactly. But that would have been funny. I would have liked that a lot. So we see that they go to her house,
and the suit looks funky on her too. I don't know if we talked about it.
No, it does. I was looking at that, and then looking at his flashbacks as Ronin, and I was like, I don't know if it's just like budget wise, like the one that they use for the Avengers movie is like a better quality, or really if it just looks funny on her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's gotta be.
Yeah, but it's like obviously it's a different suit because they're gonna make it suited to her body or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does look weird on her, and I think the hood is too big on her when she wears it, so it looks kind of like dopey.
Like a son wearing his dad's suit,
Yeah, it looks a little dopey. So then they're at her her apartment, and he's questioning her, and she's basically like a dope. Like she's just like, oh, I didn't go anywhere, no one saw me, superhero, I kept the mask on the whole time, but you went home, like dodo bird, like you went home, and now the tracksuit mafia is throwing the Molotov cocktails through your window and burning your apartment, and now they had to leave the Ronin suit.
Yeah, she's got a tail on her, and they find out where she lives, and it's that she's just exposed right out of the jump, you know, who she is and what she has to do with it. When they go back to the apartment, it's a bit of a character development scene, you know, where they're trying to have them build some chemistry. So as the show goes on, we get to fall in love with their interactions. There's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah,
I don't
definitely.
really necessarily enjoy the personality of Kate Bishop, and I think Hawkeye. I don't hear like he's having a lot of fun.
No,
like
he's
in
not.
those other ones.
I feel like he's like agitated by her because he has that dialogue with Wanda Maximoff when she's like, it's her first battle, and he's like, you can stay here, you can put your big girl pants on, and you can come out there and fight. If not, I'm gonna have your brother come get you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's straight to the point, and he's like a little funny, like, you're big girl pants, like, you can do what you gotta do, like, what you came here to do. And then with her, he just like seems annoyed with her, and like then they have to leave the suit, the place is on fire. After that, she's like only excited about Avengers stuff, like, oh, are we going to the Avengers Tower? Oh, what are we gonna do? Get Avengers stuff? And he's like, no, like, Tony sold that. Like, he's just like on to the next topic, you know? He's like, come on, kid. And then he was like, a bag of money would have been more useful than you know what I mean? Because he's like, needs the resources to hide this girl. And then they go to her aunt's house, and that's where, he stashes her for the meantime while he looks for the suit. And so then we see him go back, after he drops her off. He sees the fireman, and he stages himself as a fire
he
guy.
takes the hat, takes the jacket. he goes under the police line and all that.
Yeah. And then he sees it's not there, but then he notices on the fire truck, their live action role play. So then which I really do like when they get to that part in the episode, but we'll talk about that when we get there. But he gets back to where he's stashing her at her aunt's house, and he's like, why does everybody say I love you so much nowadays? And she's like, ew, why, like, why'd your heart shrink 3 sizes? And then he's like, because a little girl stole my Christmas. So I thought that was a cute like nod to the Grinch. I really did like that. But yeah, so then he's asking her to stay there, and she doesn't want to stay. And then so he goes to the LARP, and he sees the guy with his suit on after he like Google searched it, right?
Yeah, he freaking hashtag finds his suit, and I don't even
through social media.
Yeah, it's like a guy who's like, you think you're afraid of me now kind of thing. Like, bam, I'm in my ninja suit. And it's one of those like quick little edits where
like a TikTok.
Like regular suit to like Ronin suit, like in a flash. Seamless edit. So it's like, what the heck is what's happening here in this
very TikTok-esque?
In this Marvel show.
Yeah. So they're trying to be with the time. So that's how he finds it, which I think is way too easy. But again, we have a lot of filler in the show. So then when it comes to like important pieces, it's bang bang, like really quick about it. And I'm like, okay, you found the suit that fast? Okay, cool. So then we get to the LARP, and then they're giving him a hard time, like, you can't come in, so he has to get into character, which I like. Not about it. He's still like beating everybody up with like, such ease. He's like, all right, we got to do torso kill. So torso. He gets to the guy, and then he's like, I'm gonna either pretend kill you and take the suit, or I'm gonna for real punch you and take the suit. And then the guy's like, come on, I know you are, you're Hawkeye, like, you're a real superhero. Let me just beat you. And so like the guy is like really excited and happy to see him, and Hawkeye's just like so bothered by all the events in this episode, which I find more funny. So he finally like agrees after he's like, and I fought Thanos, So I thought that was really funny. He's just like, fine. And so then he kind of like bends over and is like waiting for the guy to hit him in the torso. And the guy's like, nah, you gotta make it look real. So then they go and they fight.
When we get to the LARP, and I feel like it's filler, but there are funny moments. Like when he first shows up. Yeah. She's like, what's your name? What's your email? What's your occupation, organization? Classified. Yeah, he was like, very hesitant to give that out, and they're like, here's your helmet and your suit, and he's like a slow-mo kind of going to the firefighter.
Wait, when you said the helmet, remember it was like a Thor-esque helmet, so yeah.
Blonde hair.
Yeah.
Like there's just funny moments like that, but it also just kind of filler. Like we're filling up time for this episode. Like I said, they're enjoyable scenes, and people are gonna get laughs from them. But in terms of servicing the plot and the story, like we're kind of messing around here.
I feel you. That was fun.
And the cling sound effect guy, right?
Yeah. Also, when they're actually doing the fight, the guy is like, cling. And then he was holding it, you said, right?
Yeah,
so
the third one, he's like, cling.
Yeah, that I liked. I liked the banter that when he was like, and I fought Thanos there. So that was like the most enjoyable part on these 2 episodes. Because again, it was really, really hard for me to watch these episodes. Because again, I don't have any interest or anything invested in Kate Bishop. So I want to see more Hawkeye. So I got a little bit more this episode, but again, like him dropping her off, her family's company, because she's an heiress, so she's got to do this stuff. And, and he gives her her number and he's, no, don't call me. And then she just, with all these text messages berating him and then like calling him. And then she calls him and she's like, I called him again. And then, one of the tracksuit guys picks up and she's like, oh, shoot. So then she's like tracking him down. But right before that, she was having dinner with, her mom and soon to be stepdad. And Jack was talking about agitating the risotto. Like, he knows what he's doing, agitating about, and then like,
because it also looks, we didn't talk about it, also looked like Jack recognized Kate in the Ronin suit. Like, there's that shot where he's kind of looking at her and it seems like he's processing, like, is that who I think it is?
Yeah. Okay, maybe. He knows what he's doing. And then the whole fencing thing, they're fencing and they're fighting or whatever. He downplays it and then she goes to like stab him in the face, but not really. And he throws it off. So she's like, he's hiding something. And then he offers her the butterscotch from his uncle's. And, it could just be coincidence that he has it. But, like, she literally just saw him stabbed in the back the day before. Like, and then you're going to hand her a butterscotch from his house. So that was pretty sketchy. We get back to Hawkeye. He finally got to the outfit. Then he is talking to his wife. And then, he's missing the gingerbread things where he was like, oh, what are we gonna do for Christmas?
Right, because he's like gingerbread house, Christmas movies
and ugly sweaters. And so, and they're like, oh, you would have just slowed us down. And then she's like, oh, what are you gonna do about the people? And he's like, oh, I'm gonna do a little catch and release. And she's like, oh, one of Nat's moves. So I like that they keep tying her back into it. And then we get to see him the back of him tied up in a chair, which is, the first instinct we saw of Agent Romanoff in the Avengers. So I really, really did enjoy that. There was 2 parts in this episode that I really enjoyed. The LARP, because it was funny. Like, we got to see Hawkeye being, like, silly, where he was kind of, like, irritated before, and then doing the Natasha move. That was what I really liked about it.
Yeah, I think that's a nice little callback to do the catch and release. Yeah, she is definitely still kind of keeping an eye on him, and it's interesting the way they have her in this show as this. She's not telling him what to do, but she's kind of like coaching him and like making sure he still got this, like similar to the Age of Ultron scenes where they're like, oh, they need you, kind of. They're lost without you, and I like that kind of support and seeing that relationship in these movies, because there's not too many moments like that. Even when there was, when a character is in a relationship, sometimes there's conflict because of what they're choosing to do. And
for work,
and in this time she's kind of understands, like, oh,
she's super supportive. So my total thoughts on both episodes were they were a bit lackluster. I didn't like the character development. I don't like how they went about it, and with her, I wish it was, a show about Hawkeye and not Kate Bishop. I'm hoping for better in the future, so that's really my thoughts on these 2 episodes.
Yeah, Echo, we I don't know if we talked about it, but
no, we didn't.
Echo, her introduction, she's got her hand over the sound. She's giving the sign language communication. She's obviously this new character who we have a lot of questions about, like is... In the comics, I guess she's the adopted daughter of Kingpin. Yeah. And if Kingpin's in it, maybe Daredevil is going to be... Not that he's going to be in this show, but they're all trying to pull some of these characters into the universe. So Echo, that I guess the big question is, like, who is she working for? I guess it's easy to go Kingpin, or could Kate Bishop's mom be involved? Could Jack be involved? Could Armand be involved? Like, who is Echo, like, associated with?
Yeah. I'm not going to put aside her mom, because again, her mom gave me bad vibes from the jump. So, and Jack, I feel like they're playing him out to be the bad guy. I wouldn't be surprised if it is him, but I'm not going to put the mom aside either.
Right. And this whole show, too, like with Hawkeye losing his hearing, the idea of the hero taking some kind of hit as the battle goes along, and the battles go along over the years, it's definitely a more grounded take that I appreciate, like Don Cheadle's War Machine in Civil War, or Iron Man and
3.
Or Tony Stark in Iron Man 3, where he's having the PTSD, or Hulk having the arm being sizzled off, Thor losing his eye, like there's
humanizing them.
Yeah, humanizing them and showing that they can fall. They're not invincible. These characters, they're most likely to die as the years go on, or whatever they're going to do. But having these little, like, inklings as they go on, like, before they die, like, they hurt before they die. There's pain along the way. With this whole 2-episode scheme, I wish, since it is the slowest and least interesting of, let's just go of the year, I wish they kind of squished these two episodes into one, where you start off with Hawkeye, Christmas in New York. He's crossing the street, you know, exterior shot of New York, right? Obviously, but he's crossing the street, going to the musical, getting annoyed with the guy who's asking for the autograph, going back to a seat, saying, "Let's get out of here." Then they cut to the dinner, you know, like what's Hawkeye doing? What's he been up to? Because his family was important to him in this whole narrative, so why not continue with? It's not action driven. It's not this thrilling sequence or thrilling series of scenes or whatever. It's just grounded in the humor of it, of being a superhero in this whole Marvel universe, where he's sitting there watching the absurdity of these individuals doing a song and dance of what they did. And you know, I don't know how many lives were lost or what the heck what the total was that day, but it definitely seems like it could have been a little better, right? We skipped to that to Kate having the protection scene where she's pinning the guy's arm, she's saving someone getting mugged, and then we can go to the auction scene where everything is going on, and you know, Echo's there, and she wants to bid, and you know, everything.
I think that would have been a much better introduction of Echo if in a suit or in, you know, very nice dress, and she's there, and you know, that's the first time we see her. You know, so whatever her cues are, so she bids, and then they wait for her to leave, like you were saying, and you know, that's their cue to blur the wall out. Excuse me.
Yeah, but I also would have loved for Hawkeye to be exposed as Ronin in that specific scene as well, so then she can send the message to her henchmen like, "Hey, Hawkeye's the guy we're actually looking for." So then Hawkeye gets a target on his back while he's out with his family. Yeah. Sends his family off and tells the daughter, right? The oldest, potentially, I think.
She's second, I think.
Or second. Oh, dang. So if she's the second, then tell the oldest to take care of them and go back to the hotel, whatever they have to do. So as soon as he sends them off to go do that, he's trying to fight off these guys. Kate's tailing Hawkeye because, you know, she's aware of his presence right in and out of New York. She's a #1 fan, kind of like stalkerish, right? So she sees that he needs help.
Presents as that a little bit.
Right. So she starts slinging a couple arrows, trying to help fend off the tracksuit mafia with Hawkeye. Hawkeye eventually pulls up in an alley, and they have that whole exchange like, "Who are you?" And you know, "You're freaking Hawkeye." But in that moment where Hawkeye looks at her and he's like, "Who are you?" I would have loved the scene to cut back to Kate Bishop watching the events of the Avengers unfold right outside her bedroom window, and she's seeing Hawkeye be dramatic and heroic, and she's being swept up in all that, and she's you know, she's settled on what she wants to become when she grows up. And I would have loved for that to happen as he asks her who she is, and then that whole thing comes back to the action, like the car pulls up or something that shakes them from that moment or whatever. I just would have loved for something to be a little bit mixed up and have a different kind of presentation. So when you have both of them begin to get surrounded by the tracksuit mafia, they get captured. So they get captured in that moment as they're trying to settle what the heck is going on and who and Hawkeye's trying to see who this person is. They get captured. They get taken to Echo. So then you get them tied to the little like kitty
coin machines.
Yeah, like those
you play at the mall and stuff.
Exactly. So then you have the whole introduction of Echo. You know, the hand over the sound and the sign language and all that jazz. You can still have all this, but I would have loved for them to cut the filler and for it to be squished down to like a really solid hour of content. You know, they have a good story to tell with Hawkeye and trying to live his life or get out of this specific, you know, full-time superhero duty. The focus on Bishop and the focus on these other things have been holding the show back and what it could be.
Yeah, I think Marvel should hire you because it's got better ideas than what we've seen with this show. So, I mean, that's pretty much all I've got for this. The first episode and the second episode of Hawkeye, lackluster for me. I'm giving it a big fat 2 thumbs down as of now. I'm hoping it gets better.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this series so far. I hope that the introduction of Echo leads to spicier moments in the show.
Spicy is what I want.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'll take Black Widow, Echo. There's rumors of Kingpin and Spider-Man coming through. So I mean,
come on.
This show's gonna need everybody.
Needs a lot of help.
Yeah, and I think to have the Don Cheadle War Machine would have been interesting.
And we get to episode 3, which opens with Echo and her in school, and I immediately already like the setup more than Kate Bishop. I don't know if it's just because it's more relatable. We see her in school.
She's learning at school. Obviously, she's proficient. She seems ahead of the curve. She's learning how to read lips because there's a scene that cuts to her focusing on the teacher, right?
Yeah.
And she's trying to figure out what the teacher's saying. The scene mocks what a deaf person would feel like, so there's
Yeah.
no sound, right?
Yeah,
So it's all visual. Tries to receive the information the world has given her, how she pulls that in, and how she makes sense of things, and what makes her character tick in a way.
I like that because you see the subtitles on the screen where it just says like one or two words from the teacher, and then you see that the teacher, not that the teacher was upset, but like she comes up and she's like trying to tell her to pay attention, and then finally she realizes this little girl's ahead of the game. She's already got her whole page figured out, you know? And then we get to her being at home with her dad, and they're doing the shadow puppets on the wall. The dad is the hawk, you can see, or a bird. I'm saying hawk because of the show. And then she's like a dragon. So I feel like that's some foreshadowing of what's going to happen. So, and then she's talking to her dad about like, you know, how does it sound? What do the dragons sound like? Things like that. You know, wanting to go to a school with kids just like her, deaf school. And then her dad saying, you know, you'll have to learn to jump between two worlds. Just by watching. And again, I feel like that's some more foreshadowing of this episode because of Kate Bishop, like learning she wants to be a superhero and she still has her life. How is she going to maintain that jumping between both worlds? And I feel like that's something all of the superheroes have, you know, troubles or issue with. Stark, Iron Man had issues with. Pepper Potts took a break. Spider-Man's having issues with we're going to see in the new movie of people finding out who he is. So I feel like that is a theme in the Marvel universe.
Right, and you see her have those scenes with her dad. They're trying to plant a little bit more dimension in this character as they go on. It's not as simple as the bad guy wants to do a bad thing. It's a touching moment, you know, a father-daughter kind of moment. Right, and this takes us to the karate scene where she's, you know, getting ready to fight, which you have an interesting parallel between her and Kate Bishop, where Kate Bishop is trying to learn archery through the years at a very young age.
Yeah.
Then you have Echo, who is learning this hand-to-hand combat, you know, not relying on bows and arrows, but, you know, she wanted to get her hands dirty. Not that Bishop didn't either. She got a black belt.
Yeah.
But the point is, both of these are driven characters from the jump, and they want to protect.
Definitely. So I think seeing the actual performance rather than like the pre-credits where it's just like the cartoon, the silhouettes for Kate Bishop, we really don't see her, you know, learning all of that. And with Echo, we see her, you know, again learning and listening, and you know, her name Echo, feeling that vibration of learning other people's body movements and things like that. I think that's just more relatable to me for the character and made me like it. The way he laughs when he pinches her cheek, the hand of the clothing, you could see it's a cuff suit.
Right, it's a hearty chuckle.
Yeah, definitely the laugh is a dead giveaway. We go to her kickboxing. Now she's an adult. I'm curious, you know, we see her as a child learning how to be a person in our society, a child, and learning how to be deaf and do that. And then we see her as an adult, but she's missing the bottom part of her right leg. So I'm just curious to what happened there. I don't know if that was just like a birth defect, but I want to know more, you know, as an audience member on that part.
I just see her as a, you know, complicated character, imperfect, as opposed to Bishop, where she's young. You know, she has a youthful look. She has a lot of money, and she has a very, I guess, bright and smart ass kind of attitude towards things. Right, and it's a character I think we all come across in life. Echo and something being imperfect about an individual is what makes characters interesting.
Yeah.
So when you have this Echo scene, she's outside the building, she's lingering around, she's in the foreground, seeing this massacre go down as Ronan is inside the building, laying waste to anyone who stands in his way. This is going on in the background, so... Yeah.
When she shows up on her motorcycle and she hears somebody get thrown against the garage door, the loud thud.
Right, and this is all pre-snap because he's in Ronin. So and this is something that we both wanted to see more of. We wanted to see Ronin doing some of the dirty work that was done during those post-snap years, and they give us a little taste of that in the scene.
Just a very little bit, but it was very good.
It's not some, you know, circle jerk of a scene. It's very concentrated on building character and tying in Echo and her legacy as what it is to be a member of this whole universe.
Mm-hmm.
So when you carry this on, it's a nice scene that pulls us back inside, and she's having the final moments with her dad, and he's telling her to get out of here, and he's saying like, I'm already gone. You know what I mean? I'm a dead man, basically. And
leave little dragon, I think is basically what he said. And I already really liked this character from the beginning. I connected with it right away. I don't know. She just seems really much more relatable. That scene came where her dad is dying and he's like, leave little dragon or whatever he says it. I cried because I was like, wow, like I already felt so much more for this 1 to 2 characters in like a span of max 5 minutes, if that, than I did in the first 2 episodes for Kate Bishop. I don't know if it was better writing or better acting, but something about this episode within that first 5 minutes to me was better than all of what I saw of Kate Bishop.
Right. I think there's a little bit more setup, even though there's less screen time with their father. With Bishop, it's like this long, lengthy fucking conversation that's a whole bunch of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to this one with Echo and her dad, it's a little more heartwarming.
Yeah.
And it's taken from maybe a scene in their youth to a scene as she reaches adulthood. So there's a bit of an arc there, and I think it has a better impact than Bishop's relationship with her father. But after this scene, we get the title card, and that's the episode of the series so far. This one takes the cake. This one's actually moving the plot, and it's giving you a lot of great character background, right?
Yeah, definitely. And then we flash back to the end of episode 2, where Tracksuit Mafia has Kate Bishop and Hawkeye, and one of the tracksuit guys goes, she talks too much. Does she always talk that much? And I agree with him. I find that this character just doesn't stop running her mouth. When he was like, well, I'm going to basically make you shut up. Or, she's going to make you shut up. And that's when, they get introduced to Echo. Or at least she does.
Yeah, Ronan is a wanted person, and that's the information that's revealed in this scene. Echo is interviewing both of them. They're tied up, a little kid ride.
Mm-hmm.
And she wants to know Ronan because we just found out Ronan is the cause of her father's death. She wants payback. There's a bit of confusion. They think Bishop's Ronan because she wore the suit. Ronan's trying to tell her like, hey, like she's not Ronan. Look how young she is. Ronan's dead. Who killed Ronan? Black Widow. Let's get out of here. There's nothing to worry about.
I feel like I don't know why that wasn't made more of a point. Like, look at how young she is. Like, there doesn't make any sense. But Echo was like, she was stating that, she took on some of my guys by herself. So I think she has something to do here. So I think that was a good point. But I was like, I don't know if that's really a strong connection. I feel like she has more hate, if anything. That's why when she, Kate Bishop is talking and she automatically chokes her. But even when she's choking her, Kate is still talking. And I'm like, this character never shuts up.
He doesn't shut up, and he tries to leave her behind. Back at the kiddie ride, he gets out of the duct tape or whatever, right? And I feel like he's trying to get her out of harm's way by leaving her out of the situation, having the target on his back, moving forward. Because again, that's how it was. She falls through the roof in the second episode, and then it seems like he's just continuing that kind of effort. Let me take the danger. You're too young for this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
the fight scene inside the warehouse, that's what I really like, is that, wow, we're finally seeing Hawkeye be Hawkeye in episode 3 of Hawkeye. Wow. But I did enjoy it. I enjoyed him falling into the kiddie ball pit and stabbing the guys in the feet, shooting the arrow and letting Kate Bishop go, but getting the guy in the ear. I liked all of that. So I was like, wow, I'm glad that I'm seeing this. I'm glad I'm seeing, the car scene where he hotwires the car. I'm seeing Spy Clint Barton, so all of that. And then him not hearing her and her just not getting it. She's just still, again, running her mouth. And it's not until when they're in the car scene where she actually puts up her hand when he's like, how many are chasing us? And she puts up like her 4 fingers so he can visually see, since he can't hear, how many people are after them.
Then we get to the car scene, and they're trying to get out. They're trying to figure out who's going to drive. Hawkeye is explaining to her, I'm deaf, I can't hear. He's trying to give her driving duty, and she's like, I don't know how to drive, you drive. So there's a bit of that.
I'm like, I feel like that's so New York. Like, I don't know. You don't know how to drive? What? I don't know. I guess that's just like a New York thing.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure it is. I don't know if she was in L.A. or Texas or some of those cities. She have her own car. I'm sure, but again, trying to get away from the nest. But you cut back to the scene. They push him to actually just get the car going because the tracksuit mafia burst through the door. They start driving down the highway, and this is when we get the little fun sequence where they have this camera in the back. The driver, Hawkeye and Bishop, it starts to pan around, 360. So we have it go to the passenger window, to the back window, and we see the action, the tail that they have going on.
I love it.
Right, and then it starts to pan back over to the other passenger window, and it does like a full 360, and it keeps this attention in a fun and interesting way where it marries green screen and it marries practical effects and it shots where you can handle more of the chaos, like oncoming cars and just missing them, and then you can go out and film cars where you're flipping them on real streets. It's probably the best sequence in this entire series, and this whole episode is pretty good. You have the fight indoors, you have the cool Echo backstory. You have this moment.
The car chasing scene is awesome as well.
Right, it's dope, and then it even has this close-up shot of Kate Bishop, and the camera gets pulled out of the passenger seat, raised up. She's getting her bow. She's pulling it back, getting ready to hit the tracksuit mafia dudes with the trick arrow showcase. Right, the first one is this Play-Doh thing.
Well, yeah, that's what she says. The Play-Doh, yeah.
Right, but up to that moment, as soon as she launches that arrow, that whole sequence is fun, and this is what I wish the show was. I think it had a lot more buzz, a lot more fandom.
Yeah.
It has a lot of creative energy and fun action moments in this whole episode, and this is what the series has been needing.
They're connecting more. You're getting that more of that relationship is where he can't even hear her, like in the car, like she's saying one thing and then he's saying it like immediately after, and she's like, "Oh right, we're communicating," and that connection's not really there until he can't hear you. So I think that's a little funny too. But again, the car scene was probably one of the best things that I've seen in this series so far.
Right, in the trick arrow sequence, it's like it's a Play-Doh thing. It's this web that pulls the pine trees into the car. It's this arrow that emits like this purple gas. There's this other arrow that's acided, like it ate this piece of metal, and it's
the lights, the street lights.
Yeah, it's street lights, and then it hits to these two fun moments later on where they're at the bridge.
She has a regular arrow, and she's like, "I don't know what I'm doing with this," and he's like, "I can't hear you, and I'm hoping you just trust me." And then he's like, "Aim up," and that's when we get a close-up shot of his arrow that says Pym on it. Of Hawkeye. And I'm like, oh, that's such a wonderful way to bring the outside universe into this episode of just 3 letters and it says Pym and we know what the connection is. So what is it going to do? It's not going to get really small. It's going to get freaking huge. And it's just so awesome when it happens because it messes up that truck.
And I think it's a moment that's just not out of the blue. It's set up in Civil War where Hawkeye's gonna shoot the arrow and Ant-Man's small in the arrow, and people freaked out at that scene. So to have a bit of this this back and forth where he gets to come away with some of the Pym tech to help him in the situations is, it's a wonderful moment that makes the MCU feel more inclusive and bigger than what it really what it can be. Right? It's limited to. We can only have so many superheroes in the show, even though the Marvel universe is large.
It's vast, yeah, exactly. And then he gives her the USB arrow, and she's like, what am I supposed to do with this? And then she's like, you guys don't want to see what I'm going to do with this. And that's when Echo calls off her dudes and looks like very scared because she's already seen what all these other arrows done. And then she hits the guy who was just like, you talk too much in the chest. And the other guy who she was giving advice to gets all freaked out and it was nothing. And he curses in Russian, he says bitch in Russian, which I thought was really funny because they didn't translate that. I thought that was great. And then the arrow that she shot at Echo's car that didn't do anything, she's like, it didn't do anything, it's just a suction arrow. He runs and gets it, and then we see that how they get away. He shoots it, it hooks on something, and then they swing into the train.
Right.
I thought that was cool.
Like it helps them, like it's like this rope that helps them kind of sling away from danger. I love the whole trick arrow showcase. They kind of teased it in the first couple episodes, and in this episode they give you a whole sequence of them. It varies, right? They didn't shy away. They gave you a full gauntlet.
They're in the train, and then again he still can't hear her, and he was just she's talking about the dog, and then he's like, you're the best archer, and he's like, I think you're right. And then she gets all shocked and surprised while she's getting excited about it. He cuts her off and is like, I think we should walk the dog. So I just really like that he can't hear her, so he just kind of cuts her off mid sentence. So then we see her with him again in the diner, and she's talking. We can see her mouth moving. But he has his hearing aid off, and we see that until the guy comes and serves him coffee, and she's like, was that off the whole time? Like, she didn't just witness him turn it on. She draws out the outfit and is like, you should do an outfit. And he's like, no, my wife would never let me. Like, I'm not doing an outfit. Like, no. So that was shot down quickly.
I think we also get another scene where it's Echo and that Kazan, the guy that...
Or Kazi or something?
Yeah, she's having another conversation with them. The uncle gets mentioned, and, it's implied that Kingpin is the uncle. There's powerful upper management.
Mm-hmm. And we get that again when, after the diner scene where they're walking, and he's explaining the tracksuit mafia a little bit more.
Right.
He says...
Hawkeye to Bishop.
Yes,
right? They're
exactly.
walking at a park.
Mm-hmm, through a park or something, and he's the guy at the top. And then now we're in the taxi, and we're going to her house, and... He was like, I kind of hate the fact that we don't know if there's Avengers stuff out there. And he's like, do you know if they were after anything else? And we know that they were after the watch, but they don't know what they're after because she was so focused on Jack, and she thinks Jack's involved because we know Jack took the sword, but again, they don't know that right now.
Right, and the whole obsession with swords that Jack has paints it as he's the obvious suspect in the Armand murder.
Yeah, but it's too obvious just because he was stabbed in the back with a sword, so somebody knows that he's a sword aficionado and use that against him.
And if it's someone who did that, then I expect the mom to be that someone.
Oh, I'm so not letting the mom get off of this. I totally think that witch is a bad guy. I don't know. I'm telling you, still have a bad vibe about her.
Right.
They go and they find out a little bit more about the other guy, and we hear about Salone Limited, this company, so I'm sure we're going to learn more about that soon. And then when Bishop is talking, he sees, or not that he sees, but he hears, because he got his hearing aid fixed, that there's someone else in the house, and I know he knows it's not the dog, so he's walking around, and he had just passed the elevator, and that's when the Ronin sword comes out, and that we already knew it was Jack, then we see it's Jack. So I think he's going to get the sword back from Jack because 1, it's stolen illegally, 2, he wasn't supposed to be at that black market auction, and 3, I don't think he wants his fiance to know that, so I think he's gonna willingly give Hawkeye the sword back. That's just my fortune telling for the next episode.
Yeah, I think Hawkeye's going to get the sword back. Jack is going to potentially give that information to the Tracksuit Mafia or Echo or Kingpin. Somehow relay that to them. I think that's how he's going to get involved.
I think he definitely has ties to Kingpin. I just don't know how yet.
Right, and that's the other thing too. When is Kingpin going to show up? Because they keep teasing this individual as a lingering figure, right, in upper management. So is he going to get a post-credit, end of the episode in the 4th one? Or is he going to end of the series kind of treatment? Is he going to get a headline?
I don't know if it's going to take that long, but let me pose this to you. So we know that Yelena, I'm not going to attempt to say the last name, Black Widow's sister, is going to some way come up into the series. So let me propose this to you as my spicy pick here. The way she gets involved, she's following Kingpin for some reason. They're following, the trail of the Tracksuit Mafia. So somehow that's how they bump into each other. And we know from the end credits, post-credit scenes of Black Widow is that, what's her name? Presented Black Widow with, oh, he's the one who killed your sister. So I think that's how it's going to tie in, that they're both looking for Kingpin or the Tracksuit Mafia, and that's how they're gonna bump into each other. That's how it's gonna either happen next episode or the episode after.
Right, because it's either Kingpin's got to pop in, Black Widow's got to pop in, potentially Spider-Man with the lineup of episode 5 or 6, maybe before the movie release or after.
Any other thoughts on this 3rd episode of Hawkeye?
My last thoughts are that Bishop seems to be eyeing the Hawkeye mantle, and then you have Echo, who has this vendetta against Ronin, but she has been known to wear the suit in the comics, so there could be a moment where she takes back this tragic event where by wearing the suit, and she's able to overcome this loss by becoming the thing she hated, or I don't know. There's something she can kind of take that suit with the sword and move forward as this lethal entity, right, or this lethal individual. But we are the Phronesis Project. Thank you for watching,
And we'll see you soon.